Good evening, everyone. Let me start with a question that might make you uncomfortable. When was the last time you made a decision based purely on what you wanted, not what your parents expected, your friends would approve of, or what would look good on social media? If you're struggling to answer that, you're not alone. We live in an era where authenticity has become a buzzword. Yet we're more disconnected from our true selves than ever before. Today, I want to talk about something that sounds simple, but is incredibly complex. Being your own self. Not the version of you that fits into neat categories, not you that makes everyone else comfortable, but the messy, complicated, beautiful person you actually are. By the time we reach our 20s and beyond, we've spent decades learning to be what others need us to be. We've been the good student, the responsible child, the team player, the accommodating friend. We've curated our personalities like we curate our Instagram feeds. But here's what nobody tells you about your 20s, 30s, and beyond. This is when the real work begins. This is when you realize that all those years of molding yourself to fit expectations have left you asking, but who am I really? The pressure doesn't stop after graduation. If anything, it intensifies. Now you're supposed to have your career figured out, your relationships sorted, your 5-year plan mapped out. Society hands you a checklist and says, complete this, and you'll be successful. But success defined by others is just another form of imprisonment. When you're constantly performing a version of yourself that isn't authentic, you end up exhausted, anxious, and wondering why nothing feels quite right, even when everything looks perfect on paper. Let me tell you what happens when you spend years being who you think you should be instead of who you are. You start making decisions based on fear instead of excitement. You choose the safe job over the one that makes your heart race. You stay in relationships that look good, but don't feel good. You say yes to things that drain you and no to things that energize you. You develop what I call authenticity fatigue, that bone-deep tiredness that comes from constantly monitoring and adjusting your behavior to meet external expectations. You become an expert at reading rooms, at being what people need, but you lose the ability to simply be. And here is the cruel irony. While you're busy trying to be likable to everyone, you become magnetic to no one. People can sense authenticity, and they're drawn to it like flowers to sunlight. When you're performing all the time, people connect with the performance, not with you. The relationships you build on a false foundation are ultimately unsatisfying because they're loving a version of you that doesn't really exist. So, what does it actually mean to be yourself? It's not about being selfish or inconsiderate. It's not about doing whatever you want without regard for others. And it's definitely not about staying exactly the same forever, because growth is part of authenticity too. Being yourself means honoring your values, even when it's uncomfortable. This means saying no to opportunities that don't align with who you are, even if they look good to others. It means standing up for what you believe in, even if your voice shakes. Accepting your contradictions. You can be ambitious and value work-life balance. You can be social and need alone time. You can be confident and have insecurities. Real people are complicated, and authenticity means embracing that complexity. Making choices based on your internal compass, not external validation. This is perhaps the hardest part. It means choosing the path that feels right to you, even if you can't fully explain why to others. Being honest about your struggles. Authenticity isn't about projecting perfection. It's about being real about your challenges, your growth edges, your humanity. It also means understanding that being yourself is not a destination. It's a practice. You don't figure out who you are once and then coast. You continue to discover new layers, to grow, to evolve. The goal isn't to find your true self like it's hidden treasure. It's to be present with whoever you are right now, while remaining open to who you're becoming. So how do you start? How do you begin the journey back to yourself? First, create space for self-discovery. This means regularly checking in with yourself without distractions. Put down your phone, step away from others, opinions, and ask, what do I actually think about this? How do I actually feel? Start small. Maybe it's choosing what to have for lunch based on what you're craving, not what you think you should eat. Second, practice saying no to things that don't align with you. Every yes to something that isn't right for you is a no to something that could be. Start with low-stakes situations and build your no muscle. Third, surround yourself with people who love you for who you actually are, not who you pretend to be. This might mean some relationships change or end, and that's okay. Quality over quantity always wins when it comes to relationships. Fourth, get comfortable with disappointing people. This sounds harsh, but it's liberation. You cannot be authentic and keep everyone happy all the time. Some people will prefer the performed version of you, and you have to be okay with disappointing them in favor of honoring yourself. Fifth, experiment with different aspects of yourself. Try new things. Explore interests you've been curious about. Express yourself in ways you've been afraid to. Give yourself permission to. Be a beginner, to be bad at things, to change your mind. Finally, practice self-compassion. You're going to mess this up sometimes. You're going to fall back into people-pleasing or comparing yourself to others. That's part of being human. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Here is what happens when you start being authentically yourself. You give others permission to do the same. Your courage to be real creates space for the people around you to drop their masks. 2, you become a beacon for others who are tired of performing, tired of pretending, tired of being who they think they should be instead of who they are. The world doesn't need another perfectly curated version of someone else. It needs you, messy, complicated, growing, authentic you. Your quirks, your perspectives, your way of seeing and being in the world, that's your gift to give. So I'll leave you with this challenge. This week, make one decision based purely on what feels right to you, not what looks right to others. Notice how that feels. Notice what changes. Notice who shows up differently when you show up as yourself. Because at the end of your life, you won't regret the times you were too much yourself. You'll regret the times you were too little. Be brave, be authentic, be beautifully, unapologetically you.